So let's get right into it. In this explainer, we are going to break down the actual science behind our relationship with our phones. We're going to explore why it feels impossible to stop scrolling and what all those pings and notifications are really doing to our brains. Let me just ask you this. You know the feeling, right? You pick up your phone just to check one quick thing, and then you look up and poof, an hour is gone. Maybe even two. You've just been scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, trust me, you are in good company. And get this, there's this researcher, Dino Ambrosi, who crunched the numbers, and what he found is, well, it's pretty staggering. He calculated that the average 18-year-old is on pace to spend a mind-blowing 93% of their remaining free time just looking at a screen. We're not talking about work or school time here. This is the time we have for literally everything else that makes life, life. And here's the thing you have to understand. This is not an accident. It's not a personal failing or a lack of willpower on your part. It is all by design. Companies like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter are in a non-stop battle for your attention. Why? Because your time, your eyeballs, that's their product. They make money by keeping you hooked for as long as humanly possible. And it's not just about taking our time. These platforms are actively shaping our values. Each one has its own sort of hidden curriculum. You've got Instagram, which quietly suggests that your self-worth is tied to how great you look and how amazing your vacation photos are. Then there's Twitter, where the whole structure implies that really complex, nuanced ideas can and should be boiled down to a simple black and white take. And Snapchat? It pushes this idea that the quality of your relationships is all about how often you're in touch, not how deep those connections actually are. So, to really get why these apps have us in such a chokehold, we've got to look inside our own brains. And that means we need to talk about one key player, this powerful little neurotransmitter called dopamine.
Okay, so there is a huge myth about dopamine, right? We all hear about dopamine hits and we think, oh, that's the pleasure chemical. But as neuroscientist Andrew Huberman points out, that's not the whole story, not even close. Dopamine isn't about pleasure itself, it's the molecule of motivation. It's the chemical that makes you crave things, that drives you to get up and go pursue a reward. It's the molecule of wanting.
I mean, just how powerful is this stuff? Well, check out this crazy famous experiment. Scientists set it up so rats could press a lever to get a little jolt of dopamine in their brain's reward center. The craving it created was so unbelievably strong, the rats would just press that lever for hours and hours. They wouldn't eat, they wouldn't sleep, they would just press it until they literally collapsed. And then, when the scientists blocked the dopamine, the rats became so lethargic, so unmotivated, they wouldn't even get up to get a drink of water. They basically lost the will to live. That is the power of dopamine.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, rats, levers, what does this have to do with my phone? Well, it has everything to do with it. Because app designers have basically figured out how to turn your phone into a digital slot machine, one that is perfectly engineered to hijack that exact same reward system in your brain. Think about it. Every single time you pull down to refresh your Instagram feed or check for new notifications, you have no idea what you're going to get. It could be nothing. Or it could be a like on your photo, a great comment, a message from a friend you've been waiting for. That complete unpredictability is the magic ingredient. It's exactly like pulling the lever on a slot machine, and it makes our brains scream, "Again! Do it again!" The neuroscientist Andrew Huberman has this fantastic way of explaining it. See, we all have what he calls a baseline level of dopamine. That's just your normal, everyday level of motivation and satisfaction. But when you get a notification or a like, you get a peak, a big spike of dopamine way above that baseline. And yeah, that little rush, that feels good. But, and this is the absolute kicker, what goes up must come down. After every single one of those peaks, your dopamine level doesn't just settle back to normal. No, it actually drops below where you started. The higher that peak was, the deeper the crash that follows, leaving you feeling just a little bit more blah, a little less motivated than you were before you even picked up the phone. To really put this into perspective, let's look at the menu. Eating chocolate gives you a nice little 1.5 times boost above your baseline. Nicotine is about 2.5 times, but social media notifications, they're in a category all their own. Why? Because they are unpredictable and, more importantly, they are endless. The slot machine just never runs out of coins. The peaks can just keep on coming, one after the other.
And over time, your brain, which is incredibly adaptive, starts to adjust to this constant flood of high peaks. It's a natural process called homeostasis. Your brain basically turns down the volume by reducing its own dopamine receptors. It becomes less sensitive. The result is dopamine tolerance.
And suddenly, things that used to bring you simple pleasure, reading a book, having a real conversation, going for a walk, they start to feel, well, boring. They just can't compete with the fireworks show happening in your pocket.
And this is where that path ultimately leads. Dr. Huberman puts it perfectly. Addiction is a progressive narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. Eventually, that one high-stimulation activity is the only thing left that makes you feel anything at all. And even that starts to feel less and less satisfying.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty grim, I know. But here is the really, really good news. You are not powerless in this. Not at all. You can absolutely take back the controls, reset your brain's entire reward system, and start finding joy in normal life again. The most powerful strategy to do this is something called a dopamine detox. And the idea behind it is actually really simple. You intentionally starve your brain of all those cheap, easy, high dopamine hits. You give your poor, overworked receptors a chance to rest, recover, and reset to their natural, healthy baseline.
And look, you don't have to go live in a cave for a month to do this. You can start small. Just pick one day a week, and on that day, you completely abstain from your number one high dopamine habit. For a lot of us, that's going to be social media. And yeah, you're going to feel bored. Let me tell you, that is the whole point. Boredom is the goal. Because when you let yourself be bored, your brain resets. And all of a sudden, that boring book starts to look interesting again. That walk outside actually starts to sound kind of amazing.
But there is one more piece to this puzzle, because even after you've reset your dopamine levels, you still have to face a fundamental law of human nature. And the author Mel Robbins just nails it when she says, the fact of the matter is, you are never going to feel like it. You know that feeling, right? That little bit of friction, that you feel when you think about getting off the couch to do something productive. That actually has a scientific name. It's called activation energy. It is the mental force your brain has to overcome to switch from autopilot, like mindlessly scrolling, to doing something intentional and new, like going for a run. Your brain is wired to conserve energy, so we'll always fight you on this.
So how do you smash through that wall? With a brilliantly simple tool from Mel Robbins called the 5-second rule. It works like this. The moment you have the impulse to act on a goal, to put your phone down, to start that work project, to get up and go to the gym, you have a 5-second window to physically move before your brain slams on the brakes and kills the idea. So you literally just count down in your head, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And you move your body. It is a simple brain hack to outsmart your own hesitation.
And that brings us right back to where we started. That free time, it's not just the empty space in your calendar. It is the most valuable, non-renewable resource you have. It is the very fabric of your life. So the real question is, now that you know how these platforms are literally designed to steal it from you, what is that time really